But America, we know that bias remains. We know it. Whether you are black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or of Middle Eastern descent. We have all seen this bigotry in our own lives at some point. We've heard it at times in our own homes. If we're honest, perhaps we've heard prejudice in our own heads and felt it in our own hearts. We know that. And while some suffer far more under racism's burden, some feel to a far greater extent discrimination's sting. Although most of us do our best to guard against it and teach our children better. None of us is entirely innocent. No institution is entirely immune. And that includes our police departments. We know this. And so when African Americans from all walks of life, from different communities across the country, voice a growing despair over what they perceive to be unequal treatment, when study after study shows that whites and people of color experience the criminal justice system differently. So that if you're black you're more likely to be pulled over or searched or arrested, more likely to get longer sentences. More likely to get the death penalty for the same crime, when mothers and fathers raise their kids right and have the talk about how to respond if stopped by a police officer. Yes, sir, no, sir, but still fear that something terrible may happen when their child walks out the door, still fear that kid's being stupid and not quite doing things. Right might end in tragedy when all this takes place more than 50 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act. We cannot simply turn away and dismiss those in peaceful protest as troublemakers or paranoid. We can't simply dismiss it as a symptom of political correctness or reverse racism. To have your experience denied like that, dismissed by those in authority. Dismissed perhaps even by your white friends and co-workers and fellow church members again and again and again. It hurts. Surely we can see that, all of us. We also know what Chief Brown has said is true, that so much of the tensions between police departments and minority communities that they serve is because we ask the police to do too much and we ask too little of ourselves. We know these things to be true. They've been true for a long time. We know it. Police, you know it. Protesters. You know it. You know how dangerous some of the communities where these police officers serve are. And you pretend as if there's no context. These things we know to be true. And if we cannot even talk about these things we cannot talk honestly and openly, not just in the comfort of our own circles. But with those who look different than us or bring a different perspective, then we will never break this dangerous cycle. In the end, it's not about finding policies that work, it's about forging consensus. And fighting cynicism, and finding the will to make change. Can we do this? Can we find the character, as Americans, to open our hearts to each other? Can we see in each other a common humanity and a shared dignity? And recognize how our different experiences have shaped us? And it doesn't make anybody perfectly good or perfectly bad. It just makes us human. I don't know. I confess that sometimes I, too, experience doubt. I've been to too many of these things. I've seen too many families go through this. But then I am reminded of what the Lord tells Ezekiel. I will give you a new heart, the Lord says, and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. That's what we must pray for, each of us, a new heart. Not a heart of stone, but a heart open to the fears and hopes and challenges of our fellow citizens. That's what we've seen in Dallas these past few days. That's what we must sustain. Because with an open heart, we can learn to stand in each other's shoes and look at the world through each other's eyes. So that maybe the police officer sees his own son in that teenager. With a hoodie who's kind of goofing off but not dangerous, and the teenager may be the teenager will see in the police officer the same words and values and authority of his parents. With an open heart, we can abandon the overheated rhetoric and the oversimplification that reduces whole categories of our fellow Americans not just to opponents, but to enemies. With an open heart, those protesting for change will guard against reckless language going forward. Look at the model set by the 5 officers we mourn today. Acknowledge the progress brought about by the sincere efforts of police departments like this one in Dallas. And embark on the hard but necessary work of negotiation, the pursuit of reconciliation. With an open heart, police departments will acknowledge that, just like the rest of us. They are not perfect, that insisting we do better to root out racial bias is not an attack on cops. But an effort to live up to our highest ideals. But even those who dislike the phrase Black Lives Matter surely we should be able to hear the pain of Alton Sterling's family. With an open heart, we can worry less about which side has been wronged. And worry more about joining sides to do right. We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. For all of us, life presents challenges and suffering, accidents, illnesses, the loss of loved ones. There are times when we are overwhelmed by sudden calamity, natural or man-made. All of us. We make mistakes. And at times we are lost. And as we get older, we learn we don't always have control of things, not even a president does. But we do have control over how we respond to the world. We do have control over how we treat one another. America does not ask us to be perfect. Precisely because of our individual imperfections, our founders gave us institutions to guard against. Tyranny and ensure no one is above the law, a democracy that gives us the space to work through our differences and debate them peacefully. To make things better, even if it doesn't always happen as fast as we'd like. America gives us the capacity to change. But as the men we mourn today, these 5 heroes knew better than most. We cannot take the blessings of this nation for granted. Only by working together can we preserve those institutions of family and community. Rights and responsibilities, law and self-government, that is the hallmark of this nation. For, it turns out, we do not persevere alone. Our character is not found in isolation. Hope does not arise by putting our fellow man down, it is found by lifting others up. And that's what I take away from the lives of these outstanding men. The pain we feel may not soon pass, but my faith tells me that they did not die in vain. I believe our sorrow can make us a better country. I believe our righteous anger can be transformed into more justice and more peace. Weeping may endure for a night, but I'm convinced joy comes in the morning. We cannot match the sacrifices made by officers Zamarapa and Aaron's, Kral. Smith, and Thompson, but surely we can try to match their sense of service. We cannot match their courage, but we can strive to match their devotion. May God bless their memory. May God bless this country that we love. Barack Obama. Address to the nation on the dangers of default. Delivered July 25, 2011, East Room of the White House, Washington, D. C. Good evening. Tonight, I want to talk about the debate we've been having in Washington over the national debt, a debate that directly affects the lives of all Americans. For the last decade, we've spent more money than we take in. In the year 2000, the government had a budget surplus. But instead of using it to pay off our debt, the money was spent on trillions of dollars in new tax cuts. While 2 wars and an expensive prescription drug program were simply added to our nation's credit card. As a result, the deficit was on track to top $1 trillion the year I took office. To make matters worse, the recession meant that there was less money coming in. And it required us to spend even more on tax cuts for middle-class families to spur the economy, on unemployment insurance. On aid to states so we could prevent more teachers and firefighters and police officers from being laid off. These emergency steps also added to the deficit. Now, every family knows that a little credit card debt is manageable. But if we stay on the current path, our growing debt could cost us jobs and do serious damage to the economy. More of our tax dollars will go toward paying off the interest on our loans. Businesses will be less likely to open up shop and hire workers in a country that can't balance its books. Interest rates could climb for everyone who borrows money, the homeowner with a mortgage. The student with a college loan, the corner store that wants to expand. And we won't have enough money to make job-creating investments in things like education and infrastructure. Or pay for vital programs like Medicare and Medicaid.